Saratech Enablement session. My name is Andrea Hall, and I'm the Customer Relationship Manager here at Saratech, and I will be your host today. Presenting today, we have Mark Anderson, Applications Engineer here at Saratech, and he'll be talking to you about work instruction authoring. Next slide. Our sessions run about 30 minutes each, and they are all recorded and posted to our Saratech YouTube channel. So make sure you check out our past sessions there twice a month. We will meet here to learn about many different topics, including tips and tricks and new things. Let me just make sure we're not frozen here. Okay, looks like we are good. Make sure you check out our past sessions on our YouTube channel. And like I said, twice a month we meet here to talk about many different things, but everything is always posted to our YouTube channel. So if you miss a session, you can always find it there. And with that, actually one more thing, this is an open forum. So if you have any questions or comments during the presentation, you can type them over in the chat box and I'll kindly interrupt the presenter. I'll just let them know that about your comment or your question. So if you have any questions during the session, we can certainly answer those on the fly. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Mark.
Hello, my name is Mark Anderson. As Andrea stated, I'm an applications engineer with Saratech, and I specialize in NX CAM. So for today in our agenda, I'm going to talk about a few things. I'm going to talk about our existing shop floor documentation and our operation list and tool lists, and then the new work instruction authoring. And work instruction authoring, it was put into NX 10 as an add-on. And then when NX 11 was developed, they decided to just put that in as an operation. So now it's available with every seat of NX CAM. And we're going to go through how does work instruction authoring differ from the standard shop documentations and tool lists that we currently have, the ease of use compared to creating and developing the shop documentations to suit your needs, and the learning curve. How long is it going to take to learn how to use this new operation? We're going to go over the power of the detail that's available now with this new work instruction authoring, the availability of screenshots and drawings and things of that nature. And then I'm going to do a work instruction live demonstration and public the documents in several different formats that's available to us. And then we're going to go through the valuable documentation for future setups and how this is going to perpetuate through your shop floor to be able to be used in different departments like your tool crib and things of that nature. So this is the work instruction authoring. You have two different methods of creating these work instructions. You have the ability to create an independent operation, which will show up as an independent node on your operation navigator tree. Or you can create an embedded work instruction that is going to show up inside of the operation. And you can see in the picture that I have up, I created a column in the columns that's work instruction. So if you have a work instruction that's embedded in an operation, you won't have a node to show you, but you will have an icon in the work instruction authoring, a column that will show you that there's instruction in there. Now the independent operation, you can see that I have in a red box the icon that's going to show in the work instruction authoring column when you've embedded documentation or work instruction authoring inside of a document or inside of an operation. Now with the embedded operations, you see that all you have is the icon, no node. And in the previous slide, see how documentation has its own node. So this is an independent operation. And this is an embedded operation. So there's no node stating that there is a work instruction available. It states that it's tied to this face milling operation. These are the options that are inside of the authoring work instructions. You have your general instructions, setup instructions, your setup instructions with images, tools, operations, operation lists, and then tool list by number and tool list by name. And each one of these is a template. Just like any other template in NX, each one of them has different functions that are available inside of those operations. So you can see that you may have a few nodes at the top of your tree that are your general instructions, setup instructions, or setup instruction with an image that will be your setup documentation. And then you can use different operations to embed inside of an operation to dictate certain certain functions that you need that are specific to that operation and that operation alone. You can also use, in the sheet actions column, you can also add as many different sheets in one work instruction as you want to. So you could have general instructions, set up sheets, set up instructions with image, tools, and operations all inside of one work instruction. Or you can have multiple nodes or embedded operations. And then you can have your time, your estimation and time. That's for setup purposes or for simulation purposes. And then you can preview your documents. So the power of the communication that these new work instructions, aside from the setup sheets, the setup documentation we previously had, the new instruction allows the programmer to walk through each individual program that's being created in real time and any issue that may arise, so that programmer can communicate to the setup person or the operator in full detail. The setup instructions, the setup documentation that we previously had, you had to go in and modify every single piece of that document to fit your needs. And you had to figure out in NX where those variables were being pulled from so that you could pull the correct information into your setup documentation. And once you did that and you set that Excel sheet, you could only derive that information every single time you use the shop documentation. So if it wasn't set for every piece that you needed, then you had to do manual things. And with this new work instruction there, you can do as much as you possibly could want. It also allows the programmer to be much more complex with his programs now that programmers and operators can communicate on a level never seen before. So the operator doesn't have to sit there with his buttons on start stop or even question what the programmer is going to do, because the programmer can give him a physical sheet work instruction that will tell him I'm going to do this A, B, C, and D with that. Trust can be developed between the programmer and the operator now that they can communicate on that level. And then multiple levels can communicate with the same documentation, from upper management to operators on the floor. We have customers that use this work instruction authoring to do detailed quoting. We have customers that use this for their tool cribs to set up all of their tools. And you'll see in the demonstration that one of the tool lists, if there is a print for a tool inside of the drafting module inside of your program, it will pull that print into the work instruction. But if it doesn't have a print, it still will give you the detail of how long the tool sticks out of the holder, the name, everything that's needed for the tool crib to build that tool for you to be able to use it in this program. Excuse me. In work instruction, you're building a powerful setup package. So once you've made your work instructions, you can create and view them in one source. You can right-click the top level of your program and work instructions and choose publish. And when you choose publish, that's when it publishes the documents into a work instruction folder. And you can name that folder anything you want, and you can place it anywhere you want. And generally, we would place it in the same file and folder as your program. And a new dialog will come up and ask you what format you want. And you can see we have the HTML, PDF, CSV, and Excel document formats that can be posted. And then we have different options on how you want that scale and landscape or the size to be and the scale factors. And you can display it before you publish it to make sure it's all correct. With work instruction, the work instruction publication, you actually get a packet, a setup package that contains a index, chapters of each one of the documents that you chose to create a work instruction on. So it's a very, very, it's a working document that can be traveled around the shop, and it's very, very detailed. So the detail that you can get from our work instruction authoring is by the factor of 10 compared to the work involved in creating a setup document to use in the setup documentation, or the shop documentation. The shop documentation was very cumbersome. It was very difficult to develop your tool sheet and your operation sheet. And that's all that it would give you is tool sheet, operation sheet. Now we have the ability to communicate on a level never seen before. So when you do develop these work instructions and you choose to do a screenshot, that screenshot will create a camera view in your operation tree so that you can go back on and see what you did in that camera view. So, and you can see that in this camera view here, this is the actual demonstration that I'm going to be doing for you here shortly. The work instruction just wanted to show that there was some PMI dimensioning on the center hole. So I just took a few shots of the center hole and gave it work instruction. And then the right picture is just showing the full setup, where the work zero is, stock, and shape of finished part, and the workpiece, the holding, and your setup plates. So your work instruction tool list, it gives a much more detailed tool list than the shop documentation. This is without any alteration. This is just using it as is. If I wanted to associate the prints of the tooling, if I had those available to me, I could also associate them in, and it would give me a page that would have tool 1 and all the information for tool 1, and then it would also give me a print of the holder, the knob, the bolt, the tool, how long it sticks out of the holder, diameter, everything that the tool crib would need to set it up. But if it didn't have a print to it, this information is enough for the setup, the tool crib to be able to build that tool, or for yourself to build the tool. So on the operation list, it gives you the ability to create as many views as possible so that you can show the operator what the tool is going to do. So the first picture on your left, I showed the tool path that it was going to create. The picture on your right shows the tool itself going into the center cavity at a tilt. Center picture shows the tool that's going to cut the half moon shape on the top. Then the second picture to the bottom left shows a tool and its approach point for the center hole. The lower middle picture shows the angle of the tool that is going to cut that side feature on the part. And then your bottom right picture shows another feature being cut on the part. These are just to show the tool orientations and give the operator an idea of what the position of the table is going to be. So when your operation list, this is our standard shop documentation on the left-hand side that we have available to us before NX11. And all we had was operation lists in HTML or Excel or text format, and a tool list in the same formats. And those were meant to be used out of the box for very generic features and functions, but they were meant to be modified and created to your specific formats through variables being pulled outside of NX. So if you took the time to do that, you could get a very detailed setup sheet, but it's limited to only the information you have being pulled out. If you needed any other information put in, you're either going to have to manually do that inside of NX in an operation, or you're going to have to modify your tool list. With the new work instruction, which is the second picture, you have all that available to you at your fingertips without any modification. So before we go into the summary, I'm going to jump into a demonstration. So this is the part that I had in the demonstration itself. You can see on the left-hand side in my operation navigator tree, I have no documentation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in, select my top node, and in the Create Operation tab, in the drop-down menu, toward the bottom, you have one that's called Work Instruction. This is the template that's being ran. You have documentation or you have manual. Manual control, it contains manual control events. So manual control would be, say, a boring bar is getting ready to come up and you want an M0 to be put in before it runs for the operator to check the insert. You would use manual control because it contains the M0 in it as it's being post-processed. Documentation only runs through the operation, so it's not going to stop the control or produce any codes in the program. Manual, you can produce codes, you can have go-to points. If a tool needs to be manually inputted or if it needs to go to a special place, you would use the manual control. For our demonstration, we're going to use the documentation, and I'll do one manual control so you can see it. And it's the same as every other operation. You tell it where do you want it to go, if it's going to use a tool, or if it's going to be tool specific. This is not, it's going to be setup information. I want this to have no MCS to it. It's not relevant. And this is going to be none. And I'll call it setup documentation. So now once I go into this, it's going to bring up the dialog for work instruction. I'm going to choose general instruction. This is a preview of what it's doing and what MOM attributes it's pulling and its instructions. So you can modify these, so these are just standard out-of-the-box instructions. Now I'm going to choose to add this. Now I have a setup node. Now I'm going to go back and create another one and call it work zero. Now I have my setup instructions. Now you can see it's telling us again what it's going to give us. A path image is in instructions. Now when I go in here, these yellow symbols mean there's nothing there. So this is a product view. Once I choose product view, I look in my screen and this is what it's going to give me. Once I hit capture view, it's going to capture the view. Now I have the instructions. So once I go into the instructions, I can put any note that I want in the instruction. I'll text. So I'm going to use work 0 location. So now when I go into this node, you'll see that it's going to have my setup instruction. Work 0 location. Now I'm going to go in and add another work instruction, sheet 2, that has setup instructions so that I can say product view. I'll put it here so I can tell them what plates I'm using for my fixturing. Text, I'll use part number So now that information for my setup documentation, I have 2 sheets. So here's my 0 location and sheet 2, which has my part number for my 3 pieces and my chuck number. So now I have my setup information, my work 0 information. Now I'm going to add my tooling information. So tools gives you your preview. Now, if I had drawings that were associated with it, I could pull them directly into here. And then I'm going to have my text. We'll have and we have different functions. We can insert variables. We can add text from a file. We can save it to a document, or we can add hyperlinks to it. If we had, say, we had a hyperlink to the manufacturer's tool, we could put that in here. Now here's just a preview. Since I don't have any pictures of it and I don't have tools built, then it's not going to pull up a path image. So now we have these different nodes. Next one I'm going to call operation. Then when I go into operation, we have several operations that we can use. We have path view, we have text, and we have drawings for the tooling. Now if we go operation list gives us something different. It gives us product view, text, and then operation list. Now I pull up operation list, I go to program group, and I can do an operation list for individual pieces of the program, or I can do, if I use just operation, it's one operation. So I want to do an operation list. Choose the entire program. Now once I open this, it gives me an operation name, type, the program group it's in, and if I had simulated it, it would give me the time and tools if it has a tool associated with it. So this is a preview of the operation list. So now that I have this, I'm going to go up to my first node, go down, right click on it, go down to work instruction, and then I want to publish my work instruction to the document. I'm going to use PDF format. File name, I'll just put 1234. And then I want this to be opened after. Oh, nope, I don't want to create that. So I want it on the desktop, 1234. Say OK to this.
Hey, Mark, we have a question.
Sure.
From Bernie. He wanted to know, can you pull the actual tooling information from CAM like you can with shop docs?
Yes, it will. I'll show you when I pull the tool list up here, when I publish it, it's going to show you the tooling information exactly as it would from shop documentation if you had set it up with those variables. But if you didn't set it up with the variables, it's pulling the same information from NX that shop documentation would also pull. It's just a little bit more information as well. So now once I go to open my documentation, I have my PDF that it created. I have my index. I have my first setup sheet. Then I have my work zero and location. I have my setup information. Now, when I go back to using NX, see, I have only published, I didn't publish any of this information. So now I want to publish all work instruction to the desktop, open after. Okay, so with this, I have the setup sheet, work zero location, the tooling information, then I have a tooling, I just created one tool. Now I have my operation list. I didn't create a tool list. So I will go in here and create a tool list. This is for specific tooling. Now if I go in here and change this to list by name, if I had drawings that we could do drawings, now I want a tool list, I want to choose my entire program. And then when I hit OK, publish this. Now this would be the tool sheet that it would create with out-of-the-box information. So it gives you your tool list, but I would recommend having a model of your tool, and it will give you a model of your tool and a draft of your tool, and it will give you a picture of the tool itself, individual pages of the picture. So this gives you the same information as shop documentation does right here, down into this matrix down here. But if you have a detailed drawing and a model of it, then it will give you actual physical details of that drawing, of that tool itself. And that is how shop documentation is created inside. I will create one more to do the manual. Now the manual, you want machine stop active, so it's going to create the M0, and you can say check insert on boring bar. And now that that's there, it's just a matter of publishing it. So when you create the manual control, that all it's doing is it's creating, giving you that first dialog for you to be able to select the optional stop, put an operation in, then it's saying what type of work instruction do you want. So we want this on an operation, and we want, so if I did a path view, I would go use the hole that's being done and the diameter that I have selected. I have the PMI data that I have selected. So now it knows that on this 20 millimeter hole, you want an M0 beforehand so he can check, and then it'll insert this comment. So now you have this manual control and my instructions. It didn't take it from the first text, but you would create it in. So this is an operator message that's going to be in the code itself. And then when you go in, you put your text in the text. And then this carries out to the work instruction. So the first dialog is inside of the program, inside of the G code, so it comes up on the screen, and then the second message is in the work instruction itself. So as you can see, it's very powerful. There's a ton of communication that can happen. It's much more detailed, and it's very freely used. You don't have to have the shop documentation formulated to pull variables from NX. It automatically does it, and you can manipulate it through the documentation itself compared to the shop documentation, you had to hard code all that in, and that's all you had. And the only thing that you could do is create text inside of an operation for a message. But as far as the documentation to go out to the floor, it wasn't able to be done until now. So if you are currently using shop documentation, I recommend that you use the work instruction authoring and see the difference. And I guarantee that you're going to like the work instruction authoring a lot better than trying to maintain a shop documentation and the ease of its use. And there is really no learning curve. It's just a matter of using the operation and understanding the different templates that are in there and what setup means and what operations are available inside of the setup or the tooling or the operation. It's a very easy tool to use.
Awesome. Great job. Thank you so much, Mark.
You're welcome. I have one more slide summary of the
Perfect.
Using NX work instructions. You get many more times the power of the detail compared to the current shop docs. You have little to no learning curve for the programmer. The detailed documentation without any heavy customization is needed, like the other types of documentation. And then the external document packet, it's useful for review offline, whether that's management, tooling, wherever it may be. And then the ability to have several aspects of the program to be ran concurrently. So you can have your program being ran being programmed with your shop documentation. That shop documentation be kicked out to your tool crib. The tool crib could be building it. If you have a setup area, they can pull your setup pieces and take to your machine so that everything is ready for you. So that one packet can be used in several different departments. Our next session is SimCenter 3D, SimCenter 12, and it's a topology optimization, March 1st, 2018 at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern. Presenter is Daniel Nuevo.
Awesome, and thank you so much again. Like I said, we'll be posting this video to our YouTube channel later today. We'll also be sending it to you in an email, so feel free to pass it along to your friends or colleagues. And make sure that you subscribe to our channel. That way you are notified whenever we post new videos. And if you're ready to take it to the next level, just reminding you that we do offer engineering services that addresses all of your demands for advanced engineering capabilities. And we also offer some really awesome 3D printers. So if you guys are ever interested in finding out more about any of that, please reach out to us at any time. Mark can direct you to the right person. I can direct you to the right person. And you can always reach us at info@saratechinc.com. And that's the best way to get a quick response. And don't forget to stick around for about 30 seconds after this, after we end this session. Just fill out a quick survey and just let us know how we did today. And once again, thank you so much for attending. And if you go to the next slide, Mark, it'll just show them where our social media. Yep, there you go. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Thanks again, everyone, for attending. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks.